Hi, I'm Martin from 3D College. Today I want to show you how to create an amazing scene in Unreal Engine 5 in just 5 minutes without using any other software. Let's get started. The first thing I did was remove all the lights from my level as well as the post-process volume and set up a simple cinematic sequence. Next, to get started correctly, we need to add our post-process volume again to our level and enable the unbound option. You can find post-process in the Place Actor window. Step by step, I added different lights. I started with spotlights. In the main scene, where the opening focuses on the most important part of our cinematic sequence, I placed several spotlights and I adjusted some of their key settings. As you can see, this gave a very interesting, visually appealing effect like a cut rate. I tweaked the intensity and values like source radius to create soft, very nice, realistic lighting. Next, I used torch blueprints available in this map, and I adjusted the color and attenuation radius for each one. I also set the lighting intensity to 0.5. Another important element I added was exponential height fog. It's essential to remember to enable volumetric fog to achieve a realistic cinematic fog effect and gut rays effect. The final element that really enhanced the atmosphere of the scene was adding point lights. In this part of my level, I added 4 different point lights and actually 1 spotlight. I also worked on the color and the temperature of the lights, as well as various values in the details panel, which helped me achieve a photorealistic effect for the whole trailer. Everything you see here is also enhanced by the post-process volume, which is the key element of this video. So now let's look at the settings I use there. First, I added bloom. I set it to compulsion and adjusted the intensity to 0.25. Then under exposure settings, I switched from auto exposure histogram to manual. I disable apply physical camera exposure and I increase exposure compensation. I don't usually change this value, but in this case, it actually worked perfectly. For the camera, I reduced the minimum ISO and I changed local exposure from bilateral to fusion, which is currently an experimental feature. I also added a lens flare with a very low intensity of 0.1 and I set vignette intensity to 0.4. Of course, you can experiment with these values to get different looks. Then I adjusted the temperature for the entire scene. I chose 6360. Increasing the value will give cooler tone, while decreasing it will produce warmer colors. And a crucial step was actually adding LUT. I apply a specific color grading and I set its maximum value to 0.6 or 60%. And finally, the rendering. Before starting, I enabled NVIDIA DLSS to reduce rendering time. I selected all the necessary options. If you install the NVIDIA system, you'll need to restart your Unreal Engine, but full guide is available on NVIDIA website, so the process is very easy. For rendering settings, I use Movie Render Quay and I selected PNG. I didn't need EXR. I actually focus on anti-aliasing settings and I use some uncommon values: facial sample 3, temporal sample 17, render warm-up count 32, and render engine warm-up count 128. I also enabled DLSS by choosing DLAA for quality, and I added some specific console variables. Together, the settings produce a very impressive final result. Now let's take a look at the final rendered video. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and like, and obviously visit our 3D College page to learn more about our programs and Unreal Engine 5. I see you in the next video.